Welcome to the Social Age. I'm your host, Adrian Saya, and on today's episode, we got my boy Santi in the building.
Was good.
What's good, man? So this is a very special episode for me because it has been almost a year since I've dropped another episode on for the Social Age. Yeah, it's been quite some time, man.
Cue the sound effects.
Yeah, need a lot of them. So, hallelujah, we're making it happen. But yo, it's amazing to have you in the building.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course, man. You know, I thought about who can I have like good fucking conversations with, and immediately you came to mind. I want to kick it back to like how we first met, right? So I remember we were in a fucking WeWork in Coral Gables, and I was working, and in Coral Gables, like to give you an idea for the audience, like WeWorks, everything is glass, right? The offices are all glass, so you can see through and you can see people working, and sometimes you'll just fucking people watching, and it may be weird, but you're like in the WeWork.
It is.
And you had the office across from me, right? And I noticed that you just come to work, and I don't know if it was your style or what, but a part of me was like, this guy marinates. Like this guy likes a party probably. Like I gotta talk to this dude, say what's up.
Explained that vocabulary word to your audience
yet? Yes. No, I don't think I have. So marinate, to marinate, the marinator. So what it means is someone who likes to be at an event and probably party for some time and just be in your environment or in your sauce, essentially. You're creating your sauce, you know?
Just
you're
marinating.
Out there. You're marinating. Yeah.
You're just deep in the marinade.
Deep in the marinade.
Bubbling, just
exactly
brewing.
Yep. So it's an amazing term, and I think it really defines that whole personality.
Didn't you coin that term?
I feel like I did. Actually, no, it was me and Jamie, and it started way back in the EDM
You have
days.
a byline in that term?
What do you mean byline?
You know the line at the top of an article that says "by."
Oh, actually, I don't know if I do, but it's.
You need to copyright it.
I think
gotta
I
have
do,
the little.
bro. I should fucking.
I'm just curious, man, because you insinuated earlier that you had a hand in the creation of that.
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, and we just made it like a thing, and now people.
I see it being used all throughout Miami. You know,
see, it's spreading. The marination is spreading. So I wanted to come up and talk to you, right? And then I remember just making an intro, like, "Yo, we should grab some lunch sometime."
I think it was like in the common areas.
Yeah,
too.
in the common areas, exactly. And sure enough, you're in the music industry. You're definitely social, and you know how to talk to people. So I think it was a fucking dope, interaction that we got.
I think that weekend before too. I think I saw you at Space.
Really?
And I'm like, I know, dude. This guy goes to my WeWork, so I'm like, all right. I've already seen his face twice in different setting. Who is this guy?
Who is it exactly? Oh man. So mostly what I want to talk about today is just different social aspects, and one of them is one thing we already know we have in common is the corporate world, right? Like. Working in corporations has taught me like a whole nother level of understanding of how to communicate with people professionally. Also, how to be passive aggressive in a very professional way, you know, And, like per my last email.
To whom this may concern.
I don't know what the fuck y'all doing back there, but yeah. Exactly.
I know exactly what you mean.
I know, man. And I realized that communicating with people in a corporate aspect is completely different. I feel like people are more reserved. And how do you feel like you overcome like maybe those reservations, or like how you try to excel in the corporate world by talking to people?
Well, it's always at first, there's like a clear distinction between like the language and like the jargon that you use when you talk to friends versus in like the corporate world. Is very different. But I do think like specifically in the corporate world, like right, you're there obviously, you're serving a purpose, you're serving a role, but you also have to connect amongst like who you're working with, So like once you establish like that connection and like a genuine connection and it goes beyond like the corporate world, then you can kind of move into being more comfortable and like using different like jargon, talking about different things.
Gotcha.
Right. But at first it's always very proper, it's very professional. You're trying to impress, you don't want to use the wrong things, you don't want to say the wrong things, you don't want to come off as like, it all comes down to the first expression. But like once you like break down that barrier, I imagine for you too, like once you break down that barrier of comfort with someone, then you're like, all right, now I could be loose, now I could be,
Completely, man. I realized that. And also the company. Also, I think the company culture plays a massive role,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, when we met, I was working for a company called ATCS. And the shit was like very like kind of uptight a little bit, Like everyone in my office was Brazilian or Colombian, so they were like mad chill. They were cool, like,
Yeah.
and they were awesome to be with. But I could tell they were also a little bit more reserved because it's corporate.
Yeah.
And now I work for a company called Chili Piper, and this shit is like phenomenal. Like I'm talking to people, everyone's super relaxed. Like I'm talking to people through everything's on Zoom now.
Mhm.
Now it's a whole different ball game. Everything's on Zoom, but everyone's so like themselves, and I think that's a huge aspect. 'Cause I know who I'm talking to, and yeah. I get what you mean. Like you gotta see, okay, is this person cool, or do I need to like keep just being like super formal,
Yeah.
before I can move things forward.
Would you correlate that sense of like being comfortable enough for you to be able to express yourself fully, because obviously, corporate world, like I feel like where we stand is we have the privilege of living a corporate world, but it's a very modern like business model, right? Like Zoom meetings, like doing all these things like across online is different than like the usual corporate world that everyone has in their eyes, right? Like there's the one movie, I think it's Wanted. You remember the movie Wanted?
Is that the one with the curved bullets?
Yeah. So,
I remember people that fucking like shooting.
just the curved bullets and behind, the train. But what that brings me to, like, it makes me think, like, that specific corporate world, that was very common for quite some time. Where the corporate world is, you are in a cubicle, and like there's a hierarchy that you're really not able to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're in the positions where you are in, I am, a lot of like, and we're like the industry and like life is headed is all, you're still able to produce remotely. Right. And I do think that takes a little bit out of the seriousness that is required in the corporate world, because essentially you're doing Zoom meetings, you are doing meetings from the comfort of your own home.
Right.
You may not be fully dressed up. There's been times where I've taken meetings, I could be in shorts and a shirt and a shirt.
Bro, I'm in my boxers, and like my top half is looking on point,
Sharp.
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 But my bottom half, they ain't saying none of that.
I got mismatched socks, But it's definitely it's definitely a different ballgame. I do think more so right now where the corporate world is more modern and is more relaxed.
Yeah.
I remember too when like the pandemic started, like there were so many videos of people taking meetings and like you see a baby crying in the back or you see
Right.
something happen. Like,
Yeah.
it's just things that happen in like day-to-day life that kind of like takes away like that pressure of like being proper and like you got to do this, you got to write that. Like I remember too, like I'm still working with like growing with the company that I started.
Yeah.
And at first it was that same essence, just like the idea and how you want to present yourself and like the professional aspect of it. But now it's just more so relaxed. And like also like once you're working so hand in hand with someone, like it goes from like you being there fulfilling a role to now it's just like you are people, genuine connections. You are you share many things in common and you're working towards a common goal. So it goes beyond just like the corporate small talk, and there's actually, like, okay, like
More
how is this?
cohesiveness.
More cohesiveness, how is this? How are you doing? How is this? And it's just genuine like reactions and expressions. Like
You're right. That's this Zoom style has definitely taken the pressure off of being like super uptight, and I think that definitely helps collaboration completely. Tell me, what do you think about people dating in their work environment? Because I gotta take on this. For me, I think it's shitting where you eat, but I don't know.
It is. It's definitely tough. It's definitely tough.
Yeah.
So my experience from corporate world was when we met at WeWork. All those I consider them family, but I've experienced the shitting where you eat. When I was serving.
Gotcha.
And it just adds so much unnecessary drama and tension.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily
Dead, yeah.
You know, half the time, like you're there with those people at all times. So regardless of the fact, you know, it goes back into like now everyone knows in common, and anything goes wrong, anything happens, 90% of the time, everyone's gonna know.
Yep. Everyone's gonna know. That's the thing that always killed me. It was like any drama you had in a relationship is no longer the drama between you and that person. Is now everybody's drama. Everybody knows because Sally told Henry, and then Henry told Jack, and then it just like, boom, everyone knows.
And it's like that. And if you really think about it, like one of the common conversations, right? Like I would say, like even then, like a lot of like small-minded people, like usually they talk about others, like open-minded people and like strong-minded people that talk about things, situations, things that happen, common occurrences. It's not so much about what happens, this and that, but even in that environment when like you know there's interconnectedness amongst like the workplace, it goes from just people talking amongst each other, and at that point, what I consider it turned into like things you experience when you're in high school, right? Like the whole drama, the whole tension, and like I've personally done it. I've made the mistake of shitting where I eat in the past, and it just turns into more of, excuse the language, a clusterfuck.
Oh, definitely. We could curse as much as we want. No fucks given. But it does turn into a clusterfuck, man. I've experienced this myself. And just the tension that now arises. So the pressure of work is one thing. But now you got this whole social pressure coming from... You don't know when this girl could pop off at any moment, or, you know? And everybody knows that everyone's just waiting for it because it's juicy drama. And they want to see it.
Of course. And you also want to dabble, and you also want to know what happens and everything. But it never turns out well, man.
I agree.
It never turns out well. And then, two, just because, like, obviously, let's say, if it goes bad on the spectrum on your end, or let's say you catch feelings or you have something, now you got to see that person every day. And any gesture could either trick off something that like you're like it puts you in a certain space, it puts you jealous, or it puts you something, and it's more of a mess than an enjoyment.
Agreed.
Really.
So yeah, that's a no go for me.
Yeah, you already had an experience where
it is a no go, man. It's a no go. Yeah, just realized how awkward it could be, to be honest with you, bro. Because it was in one of my first jobs. I would like flirt with some of the people in my office. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know if I want to do this. Even though it was being reciprocated back, you know, I'm like, I don't know. Because, okay, here's a good example. In college, I was an RA, right? And there was like a big rule. It was like, you cannot date other RAs. And I was like, all right, bet.
RA is?
Resident assistant. So for those that don't know, and a resident assistant is a person that's managing the building and all the residents that live in that building. You get me?
Like,
so in college, right? So like, UCF, for example, had like a tower community, and I would be in charge of an entire floor, and they were my residents. I have to look after them if they need anything. If there's an emergency, like they would come to me, type thing, you know. And it was dope. I got free living, so that was like a big aspect of it.
Okay.
But I'm always around other RAs. Like it encompassed your life. And I definitely shot where I ate, and I ended up having like a hookup. We didn't know what this is. We're both in college type thing with this girl, and things ended up going south. And I saw her every single day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, this is awkward because we'll be in like meetings, and we're all sitting there, and then it's like, so what do you think about this? And they'll ask the girl, and then she'll look at me and then like say some slick shit, like referencing the topic that's being said in the meeting, but it almost sounded passive aggressive as if it's coming at me, and I'm like, all right, this is weird. This is weird. So I learned my lesson from that. That was like a no go for me.
Yeah, because then at that point it just becomes everybody has their hand in whatever it is, an opinion on something, and I've experienced that either myself shitting where I and shitting where I worked. And it was the same thing, just the unnecessary drama, and like it goes from like any problems that you have with that one person, now it turns into a whole staff. Now you're at pre-shift, and now someone's is murmuring, and now it's just like it creates unnecessary tension, and it also doesn't look good.
Yeah.
On that retrospect, but I personally, even like where I work now in events, like I keep it all separate. I don't
That's a tough one. So events, because I think one thing that I can appreciate about events in music is that it brings out a lot of gorgeous women, right? A lot of beautiful women. It does. It does. House music brings sexy people. Like house music has sexy people. Bass, maybe not so much, but like definitely house scene has some great looking people. And I've thought about this. I'm like, okay, these girls, they want to talk to people, they get flirtatious. The feelings are high. The music's good. It's like a perfect environment, I guess, to set yourself up for a hookup. But they're also not the type of girls that you're probably going to end up marrying someday. So it's like a question of, do I want this to happen? Like, is this something I want to move forward with? And because it's so interconnected in the especially in the house scene, like everyone knows everyone, it's one of those things that your business can become someone else's business real fucking quick, man. Real quick.
I agree in that aspect. I think I personally, as private as can be, the least amount of eyes people talking about my business, like, the better. You know, I'm a firm believer on evil eye and like all these things. Like, I just rather keep everything private.
Yeah.
You know, because like that doesn't allow people to talk about anything.
Yeah.
You know, but even as you say, you know, in those positions, you too also like being heavily involved in events, right? There's been instances where I know I'm sure, and for you, like, people are extra friendly with you, you know, either for the sake of, you know, trying to get in, trying to get a favor or something, or like, you know, so is that same distinction? Like, are they really being friendly? Like, is there something out of it? And
You
like,
trying to use me? Like, what's going on? Yeah, I know what you mean, man. You seeing that's something that I'm glad you brought that up, because I can have a inner discernment when I know, okay, this person's not being genuine or is being genuine, right? But I actually have to second guess it now when I talk to people when I'm out, you know, because I'm like questioning it. Like in the back, it's like a slight thought in my back of my mind. I'm like, all right, does this person want something, or are they just being mad friendly? Like, where is this going? Usually it's the latter. They're just being mad friendly, as of what I've seen. But sometimes it's not. And they're usually gonna come back and be like, "Yo, look, can I get on the guest list for this show?
you gotta guess this. Can you get me and my friends in?
Can you get me in like 15 dudes into this club, please?" Yeah.
Usually you're able to weed them out.
Yeah.
I would say after seeing so much. I remember I had this experience. I remember I worked the door, an event, Le Rouge, and it was that same thing. Obviously, the door. I remember it was like this group of like 5 underage girls. They all had fake IDs. They're all just trying to get in. And it's like, I see through all the bullshit. Like, I can pick up on it. They're just being mad friendly, you know, this, like, talking to me here,
Touching
talking
your
to me that.
arm, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what do you guys want? And they're just like this. And I'm like, okay. It was a funny story, too. Because I'm like, okay, where are your IDs? Right? And obviously, in that position, like, I've been in the position where I'm showing my fake ID to someone. But being on the other side, you kind of have fun with it, you know, like, let me fuck with them a little bit, right? So, like, okay, so, like, 3 of them, they didn't even have IDs. They had them on their phone. I'm like, okay. The other one, Pennsylvania. I'm like, all right, that's the first fake ID that I had.
Big red flag right
Big
there.
red flag. And, like, they just became a certain point where they just stood very strong on their position that they were over 21. And I reached the point, I'm like, you know, I've had it. I'm annoyed at this shit. I'm like, all right, you see the cop right there? We'll let him check out the IDs. And if he says good, you guys are good to go. Bro, they left. They scrammed.
Immediately.
They scrammed like ants.
That's hilarious, man. Oh, man. So tell me, what do you think it takes to become really good at socializing with people in the music industry? I know we just talked about this a little bit in the Florida Vibe Directory. But you mentioned something when we were talking there, and it's like, don't be afraid to shoot your shot, right? And I've realized, like, that goes a long way in the music industry. Like, just having the balls to just walk up and say, hello, hi. Like, just start a conversation out of nothing. It works. One thing I like to do is, as soon as I see someone that I'm looking to start a conversation with, a compliment will usually go a long way. I'll start off like, yo, that's a really fly chain. Sometimes it is a fly chain. Usually. Sometimes it's like, it's okay. But mostly I just want to get to know this person because I'm like, this person looks interesting.
So are you shooting compliments that are not true to what you believe?
That's a good question. Not always, because it's like a vague thing. It's more like I
Icebreaker.
do appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just don't love it type thing. You know what I mean? Like, but it's a good way to break the ice, honestly, because as soon the person immediately becomes more friendly and they're like open to talking to you now, and then they'll say something maybe about their chain or how they got it, and then next thing you know, we're having a full blown conversation. You know,
No, it's definitely a good way to break the ice to compliment someone, and then also too, I've had the experience, where either I'm working an event or something, and someone comes to me in a negative, like something happened to them that they're in a negative headspace or like they had a bad experience. What I usually try to focus on is how to switch the energy, right? So having that EDC, a lot of people, okay, we never got this, and that. And it's like as you're talking to them, you give them a little piece of candy, you give them a little bit of something, and they're like, it changes their perception and attitude on what they have was like negative experience, and you're being friendly and all them, and it just that little gesture just like switches a little switch for them. They're like, wow, amazing.
Yeah, now I'm having a great experience.
now I'm having a great experience
because of this candy.
It's about switching the the energy, of course. But as you say, compliments are definitely they go a long way. Like genuine compliments, to anyone. And I also do know that regardless of whether you're talking to women, to men, like genuine compliments that compliment their choices go a long way versus you complimenting how they look.
So tell me about that, about their choices. What do you mean by that?
So I mean, it's the same essence, like specifically, like as like even like with like anyone, like if you compliment someone on their looks, is different. All right, let's say a girl, right? You compliment her, you say, you're so beautiful, right? How many times have they heard that?
They've heard that plenty of times.
The looks is something that's superficial, but if you compliment on their choices on something, yo, I really love those shoes, right? That's something that they actually took part of and really.
They made that. They chose that. Yeah.
They chose that. So it goes longer than just like over the very superficial, like, I like your look, like very physical, versus I like how I really fuck with those glasses, AJ.
Yeah,
they're really nice. They're
I see.
like that.
Yeah. I see.
So is that same essence, it's about being genuine and not really saying things to say things, hoping that strikes a chord.
Right. Because then usually it'll lead to a dead end in the conversation as well, I've realized, because I've done it. I'm guilty of it. When I go to a girl, I'm like, yo, you look amazing, right? And I'll compliment them on how they look because they're hot. And I'm like, yo, you look good. But that already starts the conversation off like, yeah, well, like, thanks. And then it's just, all right, I'm going to go back clubbing, go talk to my friends. And I'm like, oh, well, fuck me. Like, I just totally blew that interaction. So I've learned my lesson on that as well. Like, it needs to be more genuine in the actual compliment. And what else do you think is a good conversation starter for anyone who wants to like just meet someone?
I think definitely something that's genuine. Really, there's really no template for anyone, or like, because we're all humans. We're all very complex. Like what works for one person may not work for the other. But I generally believe that if you appreciate someone's choices rather than like how they look in terms of compliments, like, or you look amazing, you look this. If you're really specific as to what you're appreciating from that person, where there's a choice of style, choice of the shoes, choice of something that they're wearing versus like physical looks, that goes way beyond. And people will remember you versus, you look great today. You look very beautiful. You look amazing. Or even as like, if you really like cater and like really specific and cater it to that person and make it genuine, then you really portray the genuine effect and feeling that you're going for versus just saying things for a different purpose.
I see what you mean. One thing you mentioned earlier was that, for example, the EDC, right? Like you talk to these people who came up to you and you could pick up on their energy. Like they were already hostile. They're angry. They're not having a good time. How do you feel that you became cognizant of this energy? Because I think some people really have a hard time picking up on things, like how people's vibe, you know? What do you think helped you understand that?
I think a lot of it comes from the subconscious cues and the way we express like subconsciously and indirectly. You know, a lot of the times you really understand like how people feel if you go beyond the words, you know, and how they're speaking, you know, and their body language. You know, if you see someone that comes up to me and they're very fidgeting or they're very like frantic or they're very, you know, like, especially in a sense that like at a music festival where there may be third party substances that may that may hide in
drugs.
don't do 'em. That may hide in. So you kind of like, you also is about playing like how to
feel
communicate,
that out.
how to
Right.
communicate with them and feel it out where, you know, you're not saying the wrong things, you're not feeling the wrong things. But I would say body language is a huge factor
Definitely.
on conversations. Even like throughout life, just talking to people, like you can kind of tell people's energy in regards to the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's very true to like the 100% essence of it. But like, let's say you approach someone, right? And they're just not very receptive as to how they want to speak. Maybe they have their arms crossed. Maybe their arms are like facing another way. Maybe they're fidgeting. Maybe, you know, or someone is interested, you know, they're open. They have their hands open. You know, they're playing with an aspect of themselves that, you know, they want you to pay attention to, whether
Yeah.
it's their hair, whether it's they're playing eye contact, you know, whether they're touching you, you know, there's like a lot of like small cues that are not obvious to words or to whatever someone's saying that if you pick up on, you're like, okay, I can kind of understand how they feel
Right.
towards like the essence
Yeah.
of the conversation.
I see what you mean. Touch is a really big aspect, man. Like touch, I've learned to like kind of pick up on that subtle cue because I'll be, for example, if I'm at a club or if I'm at a place that's loud and I'm talking to someone, there's a difference in touch. There's a difference in I just want you to hear me because it's so fucking loud in here, or there's a difference that's more like sensual, like I'm like touching your arm but lightly, or this person's touching my arm or touching my shoulder. Like they're trying. It's almost like a seductive touch at times, as opposed to like get over
Pay
here, yeah, pay attention to me type shit. You know?
Screaming at the club.
Yeah, I know. My ears fucking drum is ringing as from this person yelling. And another thing, bro, I realized is eyes don't lie. You know, like someone's eyes, I can tell kind of what's going on there as soon as like they're looking at me and I'm looking at them and I'm like, yeah, like it's either okay, you're having a good time or you're wonked. Like I need to like not continue this conversation probably.
And what to you? What are the obvious cues that, you know, allows you to really understand like someone's vibe or like their energy based on their eyes?
So one is, are they paying attention to me? Like, are they looking back at my eyes, or are they like
Wandering.
Are they distracted? You know, because I've realized that people who are really distracted, they're not engaged in what we're speaking about, and then that's my cue. All right, I'm just gonna end this conversation because like you're not paying attention to me. You're like half invested, you know, or that's my cue to okay, maybe I should say something that's a little more impactful to actually get their attention. And that's my decision at that point. Is this conversation worth continuing, or should I make more of an effort? Another thing is when it comes to their eyes, just how they look. Like, are they like bloodshot? Are they really massive pupils? You know what I mean? Glossy, yeah. Like, you know, I could tell someone's state of mind, I guess, just from their eyes in that aspect. I could tell this homeboy is really tired talking to me. Like, you've probably been here for 15 hours and you're talking to me like, you know.
that plays a big effect. I would say too, in terms of like being social and like communicating with other humans and like socializing, confidence, like you can really see the confidence that someone has in their eyes and their body language. Like if someone is confident, right? Like they'll maintain eye contact. Like eye contact with someone, a stranger, let alone anyone, could be the most intimidating thing anyone could ever be in.
Yeah.
And I feel like I read it somewhere. It may have been on Reddit. It may have been on a book. But like even then, like let's say someone that's nervous, right? Let's say you see a girl, you meet a girl, right, and you're exchanging eye contact with her, and like if you're holding eye contact with her, and like either you or her look away, like either to the side or whatever, that means you're nervous, right? So the confidence you're trying to, especially if you're like for any gentleman that or woman, interested in the other sex or whatever you're looking for, it's just maintaining that confidence through that eyesight because that speaks words.
It does. But I think there's also levels to how you do it, right? So you can't be like,
No, of course.
hey, like, yeah. Because, yeah, exactly. That little, like, range. I've seen people talk like that, and it's not, that's more than intimidating. It's psychopathic, actually.
I
when
agree.
You're like, yeah, I got you. You're like, bro, what's going on with your eyebrows, bro? Like, I just tried the angle.
It intrudes space. It intrudes space, and I also think in terms of body language, also too how like you speak to people, it explains or expresses like your level of confidence or your level of interest. If you're speaking to someone, as you say, you have your head tilted down. Like it's a little bit more intimidating to the side, like to the front. Like body language, I think expresses a lot as to what a person feels, how they feel, and eyesight is like like maintaining a stare with someone is something that's it could be very intimidating.
Right. For certain people, that's like, I can't do that shit at all. And for others, that can go a really long way. Another thing that I saw makes a difference is where they're towards, like their body's towards you or like away from you. Like, is the person hips, are they like towards you? Or are they kind of to the side and kind of looking at you like this? Because that tells me that you're half invested in this and you're about to dip, or you actually want to talk to me,
Yep.
Or if their feet are towards you, things like that, they could play a big role.
No, yeah, those are all cues that you have to pay attention to. Because as you say, even when engaging in conversation or when like someone approaches you approach someone, you're in the moment. But like when you're really able to understand and gauge really what's going on is like through like the eye contact and the body language, because if someone's not engaged or not interested, obviously they're in the moment and like they're talking to you in that precise moment, but like they may not be interested. So it's just even too about finding the way of like how to get out of the conversation, by understanding, because obviously you don't want to put anyone in any uncomfortable position,
Right.
Regardless if you're trying to make a connection, if you're trying to meet someone new, whatever that it is that it is always being mindful and not like over like exerting your presence into someone else.
You gotcha.
It's all balance.
Yeah, it's a big balance. And I see what you mean about not being too assertive, right? Because there are times where I think, well, personally, I don't think there's ever such thing as like too much confidence, especially when it comes to a conversation. Actually, most people lack confidence when coming into a conversation. So being extremely confident, just being like, I'm happy with myself. That's kind of it. Like, I'm just happy with myself and I'm happy to be here. So you exchange that energy to that person when you come up and talk to them. They feel it. They're like, oh shit. Like, who are you?
It's like that. And question, were you born, where'd you grow up in?
I was born in New York, Queens. And I was raised there till about 8. And then I was raised really in Florida, South Florida. So Hollywood.
Have you noticed a difference of when you meet someone new in Florida versus Miami? I mean, I'm Florida, but like
Florida is
Hollywood.
Miami is not Florida. I guess.
Have you seen that meme? Miami's his own thing.
It's not Florida. Yeah,
it's his own thing. It should be the 52nd state.
Honestly, it's separate, bro. It's Little Latin America.
51st.
You already know another one we don't know.
Oh man.
To be announced.
Puerto Rico controversy. Here we come. No. Dead ass though.
But
That's how it is.
Have you experienced a difference of receptiveness meeting someone in Hollywood versus Miami? Miami being the city where it's all about what you have, who you know, what you own, where you live. It's a different energy. I don't know if it's the same thing in Hollywood. But
personally, I think in Miami, I feel like I need a bigger impact. Like my first initial impact with you and my first conversation with you needs to be from looks. It's mostly from not only the way I approach you, but how I look. I think plays a big one. Like I need to be looking
Sharp.
stylish. I need to be looking sharp. Yeah, wexactly. So whenever I go out in Miami, I'm like full flex. Like I'm ready. Like
yeah.
and because that's what I think people look for in meeting other people. So I'm like technically dressed for the environment, you know? So that I think is the biggest difference right off the bat. You need to look good. If you don't look good, people will be like, "No, you looking bummy. Like, who is this guy?
Get away.
This bum ass dude coming up to me and talk." So it doesn't make us as strong as initial first impression.
Yeah, no, that you do bring a very good point. You know, first impressions go a long way, and I imagine a lot of people too, but I'm horrible with names. Like I can meet someone new and like they tell me their initial name. We could have great conversation. We relate on a lot of things, and I kid you not, the conversation ends. I'm like, oh my god, what was your name? Like I'm very big on faces. Like I'll remember faces, but
man, I've been in that situation and I'm not proud to admit it, but even with certain girls, like it'll even carry the night into the next morning and I don't know the person's name sometimes. I'm like, oh Jesus, I need to
even at that point, what do you even do?
Bro, I don't know. I'll be like, what's your Instagram? Let's follow each other or something. Like,
and it's not even the name.
And then the name's not even in the username or something.
TW or something.
No. But it's like a situation where I'm like, okay, I need to figure out a good way to remember someone's name. And then one thing I've that's helped me is relating the name to like an object, right? So, or like a phrase, right?
So you're saying objectifying women helps you remember them?
I don't know if I'll go that far, but definitely just like if her name's like Susie, right? I'll be like, all right, Susie, and I'll relate it to something, usually something that rhymes with that, right?
What would you relate it to?
So something random, Susie Sand, Susie, just something that kind of goes easily. And I'll just be like, okay, Susie Sand. Oh wait, that's easy to pronounce. It's easy to say. It's easy to remember. Now it's like harder to forget, you know? That has helped tremendously, bro. And then I'll even make a joke out of it in the conversation. I'll be like, hey, you're Susie Sand now. And then she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, no, you are. This is the only way I'm remembering your name tonight. Like, you're Susie Sand. And it usually people are receptive to that. They're like, okay, I see you're making an effort to remember my name. And now that is, they're more receptive to just talking to you.
You know, and it also allows for that person and for you to, you know, attach a meaning to it.
Yeah.
You know, attach a meaning to the name, to the interaction. You know, so it goes way beyond, you know, as you say, maybe in a club setting. You know, it goes way beyond. So I just met some random person. I don't even know the name. But if you attach meaning, if you attach personalization, like something unique about them, then I think that's how you're really able to make a genuine connection. You know, because how many people do you meet throughout the course of a night that you don't even remember the next day just because there wasn't any memorable or significant interaction?
Agreed.
You know?
Yeah.
It's definitely about making it memorable, making it unique, and, you know, allowing yourself to stand out.
That's a very good point. And I think that's the biggest thing that separates Miami also from the rest of the United States. Just like, how can I stand out to make a really good first impression, to start this interaction off to the best way possible. And it's different from other cities. Like, for example, I was out in New York recently, and I'm traveling a lot more for work. And one thing I always love to do is go to a local bar or like a bar in the city, wherever I'm traveling. Because then I could get to meet people and then get a feel for what people are like. And, bro, this has led to a multitude of experiences. Some that are like really wild and some that are just like really weird. Like, here's a good example. I was out in San Francisco one time, right? I lived in San Francisco for 3 months because I was working with Uber. And I was like, you know what? I'm here. I'm in the mission. I'm going to go out. So I went out and tried to at least go explore every bar once. So I went to this bar, and it was like a beer bar, and it had pinball tables. And I'm chilling there, just grab a beer. I don't know anybody. This girl comes up to me, and then she like looks at me, and she like nudges me on the shoulder, and she goes, "Hey, you pinball?" And I'm like, no, like I don't know what to say. But that was like a very like, oh shit, no, I don't pinball. And it was like her way, I guess, of hitting on me because it was she like wanted to get to know me and like start like I don't know, just start the conversation, get it more fluid and get a little more flirtatious as well. But it just ended up being so odd because from there she introduced me to all her pinball friends, and then she had I shit you not, bro. I was in a league. I don't know how I ended up here, but. She's like, you see that guy over there, and this guy's literally like fucking the machine. He's like, oh yeah, like like he is in that pinball machine, and she's like, he's number 3 in the world. I was like, no way, like he pinballs, he pinballs. So she's like, oh yeah, oh, he pinballs, and you got to meet my other people over here, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's meet your other people. Why not?
The pinball meetup,
bro.
I thought you said this was a beer bar. This was a pinball bar.
No, so it was advertised as a beer bar though. Like
very much the pinball bar.
They had so many beers, and their like thing is like crafting beers, but they just had so many pinball machines, and I did not understand why. And she introduced me to all these people who like competitively play pinball, and I was fascinated by this. I was like, wow. And this guy, they were all so friendly too. You know, I met her friends and they were like, oh, dude, like, I'm going to teach you how to play. Like, come on. Like, I'm going to show you how to pinball good. I'm like,
oh my
yeah. Like, shit.
Did you learn anything? Because
I did in a way.
I'm not convinced that's a real thing.
Bro, I don't know. He was just like, he's like, you got to be light on your fingers. You know, you got to be like quick.
This is a whole seminar for pinball.
Bro, I met the pinball of all pinballers. Like it was legit. So I never know what to expect when I go out in different cities. And San Francisco really
loves the pinball.
Loves the pinball. And honestly, we had some amazing people. I got to meet a lot of cool people in San Francisco, but I think is a great aspect. Like whenever you're in a new city, I highly encourage people to just go to a bar and see what the people are like there. Because I promise you, it'll be very different from other cities. You know, that was completely different from Miami, for example. Like, there's no pinball machines in Miami. So.
There's no pinball leagues.
Yeah, not at all.
That is very interesting. No, but it brings up a good point too, where I feel like a lot of times people like don't allow themselves to experience something for the sake of not having company, right?
Oh, yeah.
For the sake of, going by yourself, Perfect example, right? So I think a couple years back, I had a friend of mine. She lived in Madrid. And I told a couple of my friends, I'm like, yo, let's all go to Madrid. Like, been down to go. No one wanted to go. What would the usual person in that sense? They wouldn't go.
They would
for
not
the
go to
sake of,
Madrid.
not being comfortable.
Right.
But I'm like, all right, I'm going, Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna have fun. I went regardless, right? And I would say I was 60% by myself, 40% with her, because like she worked and everything, and like she gave me her house, and like it was like a childhood friend, and it was like,
wow,
she gave me that experience. But like that 60% that was by myself, I kid you not, I had so much fun.
Yeah.
Just because like you're on your own terms, you're doing whatever it is that you want to do. You don't have to rely on anyone else. You want to go here. You want to check out a museum. You want to go to a bar. Like, I do think it takes a lot to step outside the comfort zone
100%.
and explore things on your own without the sense of company. But I do think there is a huge liberation from enjoying your own company.
Yeah. Oh, that is a very good point, man. Enjoying your own company goes a long way. It actually helped me understand myself better, bro, because the more I went out to new places and I had no cares. I had no expectations. I was just like, I'm going to do this because no one else is going to fucking do it. It makes you a more interesting person as well. You learn about what you can actually do. Good example of this is no one I knew was interested in scuba diving, right? At all.
Was that Tulum?
Huh? I did do the one in Tulum.
Also another one.
This is like when I first got my certification, for example. I was asking around. I was like, yo, you guys want to get your certification with me? And they're like, you're fucking crazy. I don't want to go in the water with a tank. And I'm like, all right, I'm doing this. Fuck you. And it led to one of the most like amazing experiences. Because then I got to get my certification. I met a ton of cool people. It led to even more friends in that space and even crazier times, And you never know. You never know what can lead from it,
Yeah, I think that's a big factor, By being comfortable and being comfortable in your own self, in your own skin, in your own time, it allows you to like explore all the wonders and these small random occurrences that life has to offer.
That's for sure.
You know, and like I'm a firm believer as well. You know, like things are great, like with company. Like don't get me wrong, things are great, like things are well. But if it comes down to a moment where either you're limiting yourself from experiencing the world just because there's not company at the moment, it's a matter of fact of just fucking doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because also, you know, life is crazy. The same
Mhm.
opportunity you may have now to do something, it may not be the same opportunity you have in 2 years, 3 years, you know. So it's just about going for it and, you know, being comfortable with like being alone.
That's a big one. So I got a question for you. When you're in a relationship, do you think that gets stifled? Like let's say you want to go somewhere, but your significant other may not want to go. Would you still go? Because some people are like, well, if my significant other doesn't want to go, then I guess it's a no go.
But when you mean by that, do you mean somewhere like local, somewhere like
Say you want to go to like fucking Georgia or something. I don't know, like out of state. You know, you want to experience rock climbing in Georgia. Your significant other doesn't want to do it. Would you still do it?
I mean, well, ideally, you know, when you're in a relationship and you're with someone, like sharing those like passions and love for something with someone else that you love, it really brings you guys together and it really creates the experience and like it explodes it tenfold, right? But even in that aspect, like I'm also a firm believer where, you know, in relationships, right? Like it's two individuals that had individual lives, individual hobbies, individual wants, interests that join together, you know, to create a shared life.
Mm-hmm.
But that same individual life that they each had is still prevalent, you know, and like specifically in relationships, like where I feel like it truly genuinely grows is if you still have that sense of individuality, if you're still able to be that person, if you're still able to, you know, explore and, you know, like I would ideally in a relationship, you know, you would want to experience that with someone, right? But even given in that position, right? Let's say my partner, she wants to experience something, she wants to see something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I may not want to, or I may not be able to, right?
Mm.
I wouldn't allow my own limitations limit her from living her freedom or her happiness.
Mm.
So allowing that freedom to, you know, like
Do your own thing.
do your own thing, explore, tell me about it. I hope you have an amazing time.
Yeah.
You know, relay back to me, tell me about it, you know. I would love to be there with you,
Yeah.
but, you know, like at the end of the day, I want you to be free as possible.
See, that's a level of maturity I think a lot of people don't bring to the table.
No.
And it's actually a big reason, like, I think some of my friends just refuse to be in relationships because they see it as being tied down immediately, right? Because probably because the people that they've dated or been in relationships with, they're like, nah, like, I can't do things, I can't pursue my ambitions and passions, but I personally just don't believe that's entirely true. You know, it's just how you manage,
It,
that relationship.
it requires a lot of maturity, you know. Right now where I'm out with my girlfriend, like I kid you not, I have the most sense of freedom anyone could ever have.
Mm.
You know, living long distance, like living in separate cities, like we both still have that freedom to be ourselves and to create this beautiful life that we're creating. But I've had experiences in past relationships where it's just been very like toxic and just very like, okay, you can't go here, you can't do this. Like,
Yeah.
like in a past relationship, I wasn't really allowed. Not that I wasn't allowed to. It was just like I kept getting shit for it. And I kept getting like for going out to events, for going out
Yeah.
to the other thing. And I'm like, bro, I can't even be myself. Like I can't even hang out. Like I can't
Yeah.
even do anything without you getting these crazy ideas. And from time to time, that chips away, and like that takes away, and it takes away, and like it comes to a point where you're a boiling point, and you feel like you're a prisoner somewhere, and you just explode. You're just like, I want freedom.
I gotta get the fuck out of here now.
I need to get the fuck out of here
Yeah.
right now. But I think to achieve that, it takes maturity.
It does. It does. And actually, I think it takes experiencing that, like experiencing someone that needs to be attached to the hip, and you're like, wait a minute, like I'm losing myself. And I think for myself, at least, it took that. Like it took a relationship where that whole experience was so bad that I'm like, that's not how I want to go about things in the next relationship I have. But yeah, that maturity I think is really made from experience more so than anything.
I mean, with all those things, there's something you have to experience. Really, it's you only really know what you like or don't like
Mm-hmm.
from experiencing. And I feel grateful enough where I'm in a position where, like I say, I'm in a relationship, but I have the biggest freedom I have in my life, and like it's beautiful because you're still able to be an individual and like bring whatever you learn and whatever you live, bring that experience and you carry it on to the relationship. And the same thing with the other person. As I say, in a relationship, it's two individuals creating a shared life, but
Mm-hmm.
essentially you still have separate lives that are still valid. You
Mm.
both still have individual interests and hobbies and goals that you work towards building a life together. But in the case that there's stuff that you don't share, you're still valid. You're still Adrian. I'm still Santi, and like we're all individuals.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of what happens too in relationships is like with relationships is a complex thing
it is.
because obviously you love something and like the subconscious mind wants to keep it to yourself,
Mm.
and like the possessiveness and like it's just mine, like, and there's things that happen in it, and a lot of influence also happen from past experiences, but it's also important to know that the past experiences are not what you're gonna experience now.
That's a good point.
Because you talk to a lot of people, and like the same thing as you say in relationships, people like there's just like a certain thing that something happened in their past life, and they're like, "Fuck no, I would never do that.
Exactly.
I would never do that again." But it's like you just gotta test it out. There's different situations, different scenarios with a lot of different people that you don't really know until you test it out. But it's just you live and you learn.
Facts.
You live and you learn, and you apply what you learned from the previous onto the new one. But you can also hold someone else accountable for something that you experienced, and it's not right for someone else to hold you accountable for something that they experienced. At the end of the day, it's a fresh chapter, it's a fresh book.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And I think you mentioned there something about how you see someone and they have all these past experiences. Sometimes there's like some serious trauma there that's leading the connection to not be where you want it to be. I've experienced that in relationships, right? Either it's a trauma or usually this is the more deeper level stuff, their parents. Bro, the relationship a girl has with her parents is so fucking important, right? Like, ask her, like, so tell me about your dad. Like dead ass. Like, I want to know. Like, if I'm if I'm dating someone seriously and I want to see to take this to like another level, I need to know those things because it tells me what I'm getting invested in.
Mhm.
Right? Like, there could be layers. Like, your onion could be fucking massive. And to peel all that back is going to take years. And that's a lot of investment. Or you got a small, perfect onion and you're like ready to go. I know what's inside. I know what to expect. Like, you will never know everything, but it can be a lot more securing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Picture of an onion.
Picture of an onion. I think it's the best way to put it. Bro.
It is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a great way to put it. I do think also too, like the way we are is a mix of how we were raised, what we were taught, but a big of it really is on experiences.
Mm.
So I do think it does take for anyone to be a true mature person is enough, like being able to like go into yourself into retrospect and like analyze how past experiences could have made you think a certain way,
Mm.
and like learning how to like everyone deals with a heartbreak, everyone deals with some trauma, everyone deals with some shit, but it's just about really like understanding it, learning from it, feeling the feeling of what it is,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just shushing it away, and just like being in this mindset of like really understanding that like whatever happened in the past is not the same thing that happens in the present.
Mm.
Let alone trauma. Everyone experiences some sort of trauma, whether it's in the childhood with their parents, whether like in relationships. But it's that same essence of like, because like once you experience similar things that may have happened to you in the past or something that may lead it to believe, the brain just starts thinking. Brain just starts cranking away. I've been in the same position before. But it's
Start
like
adding it up. Yeah.
it's that same sense of just like, taking a step back, realizing that, okay, first let me analyze all these thoughts that I'm thinking, right? Are they valid? You know, are they just imaginations that my head is creating just because I'm overthinking it and I have this past trauma experience that is making me believe certain things, you know? Two, you validate those thoughts, right? Okay, like, is what I'm thinking in my head really what is going on? Or am I just making this shit up for the sake of making it up because I'm assuming things and because I'm just overthinking things and I'm just because I'm allowing past experiences to like be a big pivotal aspect in that. And, you know, even with that aspect is, you know, it's something that's always like a work in progress.
For
you
sure.
know?
I think there's a lot of Latin women out there that could use that advice really well. But no, it's you can make a very valid point, man. You start jumping to conclusions very quickly, even on the men's side, like so quickly. Like you're just like, and I think a lot of that comes from lack of confidence, to be honest, because you're insecure about something. You're insecure either about yourself or the relationship, and then that's where the jumping to conclusions comes easily. Because this insecurity now is your brain is telling you you're actually really insecure about this without telling you that. Instead, you get all these conclusions and you're like panicking. Right?
Yeah, no, of course, and it's hard at first too, like because I've been on the receptive side where I've felt, you know, someone else's insecurities, traumas being projected onto me, but I've also been on, I don't know if it's giving side or feeling side, I guess, where I felt past experience or traumas like coming up again, and I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking certain ways, and I'm like, wait, this is not right. This is straight bullshit. This is just I'm just making all these things up for the sake of validating what my trauma or my insecurities are saying, but it's not actually what's going on. And it's just more so about like kind of just like, you know, it goes a lot too with meditation, which is like, you know, like taking a step back and entering this observant mindset with your thoughts and analyzing for what they are and not really like analyzing like ready, set, fire. You know, like you get a thought and you have to analyze it if it's true to be what it is, if it's not your mind creating an imagination, creating a story that is not actually there, and really analyzing to be like, okay, yes, this I'm getting this thought, you know, because of my past experiences, you know, but I'm going to discard it. You know, it's not true to what the situation is, to whatever it is. I'm going to discard it instead of just feeding into it and, you know, marinating in that thought.
That's a good word. Yep, you're gonna marinate on that thought heavy.
You know, there's a lot. There's many ways to marinate, and that is a very bad way.
Don't marinate like that, people. Don't marinate like that. Marinate to party, not to be in your head. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, man. And one thing I've been learning to kind of get a better hold on is feeling, right? So like you got emotions, you got thoughts, but how are you feeling? And are you allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, right? Especially if it's like a bad feeling. Are you looking for an escape? Are you actually like analyzing that feeling or that thought or what, right? Because one thing that I've learned is the more you try to escape a negative feeling, the more likely it is to come back tenfold, right? And then it projects onto other people when I'm talking to them or like if I'm having an experience with them of some sort. And yeah, I think that plays a role into like analyzing your thoughts as well. You know, so if you have those two, you got your feelings in check and you got your like thoughts in check. World's your oyster.
Yeah,
you know
no, of course. It is definitely a, you know, it's like I say, it's a work in progress, you know, because you're presenting many different things that, you know, may flare up different insecurities, may flare up different thoughts, but, you know, it's just about really analyzing what your thoughts are, putting them up into a test as to what is actually going on, and like really realizing if it's just you making up stories in your head to validate the insecurities or these overthinking thoughts that are coming at your head, or if it's just you making it up. You know, if it's like, okay, like I'm thinking certain things, then we take a step back, you know, like, because obviously once like one feels insecurity, you know, you get tensed up, you feel like hot, your body just starts like, you know, it's just kind of like taking a step back, right? Because like the mind is it's great, it's amazing, but like in certain times, if you don't stop it, you're lost. Like,
you're lost in your own sauce.
You're lost in your own
sauce, man. That's what'll happen.
You're lost in your own sauce, and like even then, like say if you were to write down everything that comes to your head in 1 hour, it'll be the most sporadic thing you'll see. Like it'll just be like someone reads that, you're like, oh, this person's insane. This person has lost their mind. So it's like even understanding how like that affects too, like the mind, the feelings, and the emotions. Like it all plays together, and you have to like really like dissect
Mm.
every feeling. As you say, is this feeling from something that's going on? Is it feeling from insecurity? Okay, why am I feeling like this? Take it like one step deeper,
Right.
and you're like, okay, I'm feeling this, because maybe I had this past experience. Maybe this may be the case, it may not be the case, but just because you're in a situation that you were before, your mind's already going crazy, just like
Racing like a hamster wheel, bro. Yeah, nonstop.
and it's
Nonstop.
it's definitely a work in progress.
Facts. Facts. It
Definitely.
doesn't come easy. It isn't instantaneous. One thing I've learned that's kind of helped with this is journaling, and you mentioned meditating. I never really understood the point of meditating, like growing up, and I think now that I'm in my 20s, I'm like hearing different people speak on meditation, and I've like just come to understand that it's just about thinking of nothing, allowing yourself to think of nothing. Don't allow your thoughts to race. Literally bring yourself back to nothing every time. And what that does is you're training like the mind like a muscle to be like when your thoughts arise, or those crazy thoughts, you could be like, wait, bring it back. Let me think of why. And I have more strength in thinking about how I want to think about things, So
Yeah,
it's
I know.
important.
I know meditation is a big thing. Is stillness. Stillness
okay.
is like just like being still, as you say, like as if you were to take a step back, and you're just seeing your thoughts just going left and right. You're gonna have thoughts regardless. You can't control the mind. The thoughts are there,
Facts.
but I just realized, like, okay, I'll pay attention to this. I'll act on these thoughts. I'm gonna discard this thought. This is not even worth it. And even like with journaling too, I also started incorporating into my life recently. And is that same essence, like journaling allows you to kind of critique your own thoughts.
Mm.
Because once you see it on paper, you're like, I'm cynical for thinking this. Like I'm like, how did I allow myself to think this?
I know, for real. Get some crazy thoughts.
Do you journal? Do you meditate?
I do a journal. I've tried meditation. I think meditation is one of those things that taught me like discipline, because like you got to be disciplined to do it all the time, bro. It's one of those things that I'm like on and off about. I typically, if I do meditate, I would like to meditate before bed. It just like allows me to shut my brain off real quick with no light, no computers, no cell phones. Biggest one. Sleeping with a cell phone like in another room is like, bro, it's a godsend. Dead ass.
Have you attempted that?
Yeah. No, it's amazing, bro, because you can not be on your phone before you go to bed. And like, I know that sounds like a very simple thing, but I would argue like probably like 80% of people probably use their phone before bed. That's just my guess, but
I'll say 90 even.
Yeah, they're just scrolling, and you scroll away, and that doesn't allow your brain to shut off before you go to sleep. So even though you think you close your eyes and you're sleeping, nah, your brain is now processing everything that you just saw on your feed and looking for a solution to what it is. It's just like processing it. So it doesn't shut off properly. It doesn't give you time to go into REM easily. So just sleep with it in another room, bro, and I promise you, you're going to feel relieved when you wake up in the morning. You're like, wow, I feel awake, like I'm ready.
Yeah.
Because fuck my phone, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are all good points. I know. I'm actually try that out. Sleeping with my phone in another room, but that brings me up a good question. What do you think? Is the correlation amongst confidence and, in this case, social media, phone, having that instant gratification, that instant satisfaction, that instant approval. In terms of someone's confidence. Or even then, as social media where it's headed, there's a lot of filters, right? Where right now you rarely see anyone upload anything that is very natural.
You're so right. And it's like rare. Like if I see someone without a filter, I'm like, wow, good shit. No, you ugly as fuck. No. But like, no. It's like, yo, like good shit. Like you actually posted a genuine ass picture of yourself. And when it comes to confidence, bro, I think it damages your self-image more than anything, right? Because you're putting out this version of yourself that you want people to that you want people to see, and you're like, this is me. It's like, I'm perfect. Like, yeah. And then your brain, I think, is actually, when you come out to public, trying to live up to that image. And I think there comes a point where you're now conflicting on who you actually are and who you think that person is. You get me? That like perfectly filtered person, and it can lead to confidence issues then, because your brain is probably thinking, I'm not that person, you're not that person, what's going on? And then panic, you know? And now you're insecure when you come out to people.
Yeah. And that's where also, you know, too, like the catfishing aspect of it comes
Oh
in.
my God, bro. Dog, tell me. All right, so like, nah, like, just, all right, catfishing is like a huge issue, especially in.
Now that y'all ever been catfished, I need one more story here.
I haven't been catfished yet, thankfully.
I love what he says yet.
Yeah, because I don't know.
He knows he's out here.
I don't know. Yeah. If I'm one of those dating apps, it's like now it's opened up the possibility I could easily be catfished. But I know it's a real worry because I met up with a girl from a dating app, and as soon as we met, she's like, "I'm so relieved." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You're actually who you are. Like, it's who you are in those photos." I'm like, "Is this a problem for you?"
I know.
And then her story was crazy. She's like, "Yeah, like I've been catfished hard. Like I met this dude, he seemed amazing, and then I met up with him, and he was not that dude." I'm like, "Really? Who was he?" He was like, this like obese looking motherfucker who like I was like, "Oh my God, where's this going?" And he's like, "Yeah, he was so gross," and like he was like trying to like hit on me hard and all this shit. And I was like, "Yo, I'm so sorry you had that experience, but no, like I'm me, like, you know."
Jesus.
Yeah. And people will actually try to be a completely different person online, and that's just not. Just be yourself. So simple.
I would say that plays a huge effect to what he says. You know, it's about being yourself, and like really truly the connection you make is about you being yourself and genuine. But even then, throughout the course, when I was like, you know, single and dating, like I met so many people that their mentality revolved around social media and their looks. You know, looks are not everything. You know,
Yeah.
anything can happen to anyone where you don't look the same as you look from one side, and if you put your sole focus onto that, people pick up. You know, it's that same energy.
You know, I think it just gets to a point. This is specifically in Miami. I've experienced this where it takes away from the social interaction that I'm having with the person. Yeah, like let's say I'll meet a girl and she's like a very typical Miami girl, you know, like very superficial, all this stuff, and I'm talking to her and I'm realizing that she's paying more attention to getting things on Instagram than us talking, you know, or like just having. I see this with dudes too, you know, like they're so worried about showing that they're having a good time that they're actually not having a good time, you know. It's annoying, actually. I just want to smack the phone out of their hand and be like, "What the fuck are you doing, bro?" Like,
they're more focused on validating the life that they're living versus actually living it. You know,
facts.
And even in that aspect too, I mean, in social media, like, you know, I've been on and off. Right now, where I stand is like I post stuff whenever I feel like it. Like I don't feel like I need to be posting. I don't feel like I need to validate or show everyone that I'm having a fucking fantastic time. No one has to see that. I'm having a phenomenal time. You'll see a post or a story a couple hours later.
Yeah.
But
You know what I think helped me with this is stop filming things from Instagram and just film it as like a video on my phone. Because I feel like then I can just capture the moment if I want to capture the moment. And then I'll post it whenever the fuck I feel like it. And that's it. Like, because then I can just do it from the video. But if I'm on the Instagram and I got to post it up like a video, then I'm like pressuring myself to post it there. I'm no longer, you know, I'm putting the filter, putting the location, shit. I'm like,
is happened to me where I'm there and I'm just like too focused on posting. I'm like, wait, like I'm deterring away from actually living and like presenting
being here. Yeah.
You know, but actually that reminds me of something too. I've seen a lot of in like restaurants where they have a box where you put your phone in the box and like first person to grab the phone is the one that pays the bills.
That's a little concept. Yeah, it's cool.
You understand how addicted humans are to phones?
Oh, very, bro. And also you can see their hand doing one of these, and then their mind is like, "What are you doing?" And then they like bring it back because they're about to grab their phone.
I'm sure it's happened to you where like you feel like you had a notification or you feel like your phone vibrated and you're constantly just like picking up your phone to look and nothing's there. You know, like
Nothing's changed in 50 seconds.
nothing's changed in 50 seconds. And it's something too like we're just like we have
We're
accustomed
wired.
ourselves to this.
We're wired. It's a feedback loop from hell, man, and it's very bad.
Have you seen your screen time?
Bro, it's ridiculous. I don't even want to look at it anymore. I've even had the thing where it's like, where it tells you, okay, you know how you can put a blocker? Like, you've been on social media for an
Yeah.
hour now. Take a break, like, stop. I have to condition myself to actually stop and not just click forget for the rest of the day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had to, like,
I've done that too.
Yeah, bro. Because I'm actually, like, wanting to keep.
They gotta add another.
Surfing.
Are you really sure?
Yeah, facts, dude. It needs to be like a fucking. Honestly, it needs to be a fucking paywall at this point, I think. Like, if you, yeah, like,
You gotta pay $5 to
$5 to access this again. That's really gonna be like, I don't need.
You'll just lose money too.
Yeah, well, and then I think it'll be a form of like, all right, I really don't need this. Like,
Yeah, that never works. Just because the same thing. I put a paywall like in like 45 minutes. It comes to it, gives me a little thing. I'm like, oh, forget for the rest of the night.
It's so easy, man.
There needs to be a more strict way of using the phone as a tool and not let it be our life.
Yeah, I've tried to come up with a solution for this myself, and it's fucking hard. I've even debated like maybe I just need to go back to a flip phone, dead ass. Like I need a Nokia or some shit, Like I need
That would last you for a while.
maybe a Sidekick or no, like it would last me for a while, but it would only allow me to use my phone for texting or calling, which is supposed to be the point, right? But that's not gonna happen. Like going back to I'm removing myself from the internet. There's a sense of FOMO now that's so strong that is what deters us from even going in that direction, I think. So
Yeah, it's a tool that allows us to connect with each other, but also we are so easily accessible. And I think also too is important about establishing boundaries. Establishing boundaries for the phone, establishing boundaries for anyone else, like just establishing healthy boundaries where you're able to be sane and like happy, where you're not feeling like you're governed by
your phone.
or you're governed by like something else. Because
Yeah.
if you think about way back then, people were used to write love letters to each other, man. Like back in the day, now it's just a phone. Like it's great. Like you can have easy access to someone, but it's also a crutch.
A major one, man. And this brought up a good point. You mentioned phones. I wanted to bring up what was it? I just thought about. I was like, yo, this is actually a really good point. I'm losing it. I just lost it. Probably because of my phone. I was thinking about my phone. I'm like that notification shit. Oh, okay, here it is. With social media, right? I think another reason why it's so hard to get off of it is because it's become the new way of what's your number. You get me? Like some people don't want to give you their number. They'd rather just give you their Instagram. And it's way easier to give me their Instagram, and it's like not as intrusive, I guess, Actually, when I'm out in the club, when people come up and they want to like let's say our conversation has been really great and they want to like maybe stay in touch, they're like, what's your Instagram? They don't really ask for my number anymore. And that makes it tough to get off of Instagram now because Instagram is now like your Rolodex, You can't get off of Instagram because that's literally cutting you off from contacting all these fucking people. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you give out your number to everyone or Instagram? What do you?
I try not to. Like, if I really think I'm not gonna be talking to you very much, I'm like, how about Instagram? Way easier, it's easier, less of a commitment, I think, and less. You could be a psycho and you could just want to call me all the time. Like, I just don't know. I only had one interaction with you. Instagram's safer.
I agree. Instagram is safer. I do like in that aspect when you meet someone, whatever it is. I do like Instagram because it allows you to stay active and up to date. Versus a phone, it's just a contact. How do you initiate a conversation on a phone? Hey.
Yeah. What's good? Yeah.
It's versus on Instagram, someone posts something and like you're commenting and like, it leads to something and like it creates, more of a sense to talk. And like as even that sense, like Instagram to me is like also like a barrier. Like if I meet someone Instagram, they'll know what I'm up to, whether there's a connection, like we could stay up to date. But even the phone, like I don't usually get my phone number out to a lot of people, just because, like as I say, I'm very private. I like to keep my stuff very private.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Not everyone gets
everything, and they shouldn't. Yeah, I think that's a very good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're out of time. This has come to an end, but this has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you for coming, brother. This has been a great episode.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course.
We gotta have a part 2.
Definitely.
Part 2 for both.
Yeah, we'll run it. But till then, thank you everyone for tuning in. This is The Social Age. If you liked what you saw, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.